just tore it up. This Ford is up. The cup is full.
On this day in 2012, a young man by the name of Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by George Zimmerman, a neighborhood watch volunteer that patrolled in the townhouse community out in Sanford, Florida. So the crazy thing about this situation is that the police didn't want to charge this man, until the case started to spread like wildfire, and they charged him with second-degree murder, which he was acquitted of all charges against him, which is a fucking shame. Trayvon Martin was only dressed in a hoodie with a bag of Skittles and a bottle of juice. This 17-year-old kid was chilling at his dad's fiance's house, and all this dude wanted was a bag of Skittles and a bottle of juice. But you had this 28-year-old insurance fraud investigator who was the captain of the neighborhood patrol, was told by local law enforcement to leave this kid alone. Do not follow him. And what did he do? He followed him anyway. When the police got there, Trayvon Martin was already dead on the scene. And then this fool only got questioned, and then they released him. There were no eyewitnesses. There was nobody around. So the police felt like, you know what? We don't have to arrest this guy. And you feel as if those police officers did that because that young man was black. I have a biracial kid. I have a white wife. My in-laws, my in-laws are white. I have close friends that are white. But I do know if that were a white kid and a black man, we know that the situations would have been totally different. That black man would have been arrested right there on site. In 2013 of November, the city of Sanford announced a new rule. It forbids volunteers in the Neighborhood Watch program to carry guns and pursue any suspects. I feel like every community in the United States should have a rule like this, where people that are a part of the Neighborhood Watch program, they shouldn't be allowed to carry guns. Like, they shouldn't be able to run or chase after suspects that they think are suspects. But this show isn't about Trayvon Martin and how the system failed him and his family. This podcast is not about any of the other victims that died to, law enforcement brutality, and how the system and the same law enforcement entity is supposed to protect us failed them and their family. There are two reasons why I named this podcast Advice. About a week ago, I had a friend, black friend, just to kind of paint the picture, give you some context. I had a black friend who asked me about his white supervisor following him around the facility. Let me paint the picture for you. So this is a 3-story building. His supervisor is on the 3rd floor. He is on the 2nd floor. There are only a select few people that can go up to the 3rd level of the building. My friend is not one of those select people. Most of the supervisors in the building, most of their time spent is on the 3rd floor. Only time that they come down to the 2nd floor is when they hold their meetings with their teams, have one-on-ones, and leave the building. So if the supervisors only have a handful of reasons to come down to the 2nd floor or the 1st floor, Why is my man's getting followed all on the second floor, all on the first floor, the bathroom, the lobby, the cafeteria, even the fucking food trucks outside? Like, why is this dude following him? So my friend asked me to give him some advice on how to handle this situation. That was the first reason I wanted to name this podcast episode Advice. Second reason, someone asked me, how did I feel after the third episode that I dropped, and where do I want to take this podcast? Where do I want to see it go? What do I want from this podcast? The whole thing was to allow people to hear my opinions. And the more and more I came up with topics and wrote notes and stuff to go over it, it hit me. Like, I want to be that guy to give advice. It's always good to have a different point of view, someone that thinks different than your best friend, your parents, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, all of that. And I feel like I could be that person that gives that other point of view when it comes to advice that you probably thought, but you didn't put any interest into it. The first reason I wanted to name this Advice. So my friend that I will not disclose his name, his boss is a 58, 59-year-old white man. So my first question to my friend was, how are you at work? Because I know your personality when we're texting, when you call me on the phone, I know your personality. I just want to see, does that same personality show up while you're at work, or do you act a different way when you're at work? Years ago, I used to work at this place in Dallas called Lennox. It was this one cat that I knew from DeSoto, and he was hood as shit outside of work. We played basketball together. We went out together. Like, dude was just straight up hood. But then when we got inside those buildings, like, I didn't recognize this dude at all. And I pulled him to the side one day and I asked him, like, what's the reason for you, acting this way in work and acting another way outside of work? And his response, I kid you not, his response was, I gotta play the part for the white man. He lost a lot of respect with me because, like, I'm gonna be me. And eventually there's going to be a job and opportunity that's going to allow me to be me without changing me. And it didn't happen until years after that, but I finally found something that allowed me to stay me. And every job in between that Lennox job fired me because I was me. Like, I was not going to change my personality just so I could, get this job or get this raise or get this promotion. And when we came up for promotion, my numbers were 10 times better than his. But since he kissed ass the whole time and changed his personality up for work, they gave him the promotion and they fired me. Once I left out of that meeting, I flipped over tables.
Damn it, Bobby.
I threw pens, I threw cups, I threw plants. They called the police, and one of the supervisors, a white supervisor, which I appreciated this tremendously, came out to me and he said, you know what? If I were you, I would be just as pissed. He said, but I understand where you're coming from. He said, in this business, when you get into that corporate world, these bosses, these owners, these CEOs, these regional managers, they want to see a certain type of person when it comes to color. And that set with me, because I said I never want to be a part of an organization that wants to see their black people act a certain way. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want us to change who we are, but I don't want us to go in these jobs acting like a fucking fool either. Have some sense, have some dignity about yourself, have some pride. Go in and show these people that you mean business, like do your job, like let your work speak for yourself. And that's what I did that whole time. But then it hit me. I need to find something that is going to allow me to be me without changing. So, and I take him for his word. He said the same way that I'm with you, B, is the same way I'm at work. And my thing is, I can only take his word for that. So I told him the thing that he needs to do is document everything. Document everything. His personality is the type that he likes to kill you with kindness. So if you disrespect him, he's going to be nice. If he has anything that needs to be answered, he's going to answer it and give you extra in detail. It might come off as being a smart ass, but he's not doing anything but being respectful and giving you the information that you asked for. So I told him that he needs to document, if he hasn't been doing it, he needs to document everything up until this point, and it needs to be detailed. Nowadays, word of mouth, it doesn't fly. Word of mouth doesn't fly. You need details, date, time. Where were you at? What were you doing? What were you working on? What happened? How was the tone? How did you feel? Did anybody see it? Any type of detail that you can remember, that detail needs to go into that document, and you need to have a nice case. No one should have to go to work and feel uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, you have to remember to take care of yourself. Mental health is so important, and going into a job where you have to deal with that type of shit every day, it is fucking up your mental. You go home, you don't want to deal with anybody because you're frustrated off of work. Work and what you're dealing with is messing up your whole day, your whole week, your whole weekend. So make sure you take those mental health days off. Every job should offer those right now. So if you need to have a mental health day, have a mental health day. Go to the park, go get your hair cut, go get your nails done. Like, do whatever is going to help with your mental state of mind. And like I said, I don't care what job it is. No one should feel uncomfortable at their job. And I'm not talking about the lazy folks. I'm not talking about I'm too tired folks. I'm not talking about I don't really want to be here folks. If you're lazy, you need to find ways to improve your work ethic. If you're tired, you need to get some rest. The fuck? Like, that's the easy fix. If you tired at work all the time, you need to find some way to get some more sleep. If that means going to sleep earlier, then you need to go to sleep earlier. The folks that I don't really want to be here folks, that I suggest you find a job that makes you want to be there every day. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. The people that are being discriminated against, the ones that experience racism at work, all we can do is educate these individuals. We can't resort to violence, although sometimes you just want to knock somebody the fuck out. Like, we can't resort to violence because then we're in the wrong. So everything that happened to us is pretty much wiped away because we took the violent route. So violence is never the option. Like I said, all we can do is educate these individuals. The second reason why I called this podcast Advice, you know, like I said, someone asked me, what did I want for this podcast after episode 3? And it made me think for a hot minute. I think one of the main things, I want everyone to learn something from these podcasts, either it being myself when it comes to what I didn't like. You know, I take constructive criticism very well. So whatever I didn't like or whatever someone feels like this change would be a good change, I listen to it. I learn from that. You know, if I did something in the last podcast, then I look over it after it's uploaded, because I have to look at stuff, you know, different parts of the day. If I look at it all in one setting, it's gonna all look the same to me. So, you know, I learn from other people's criticism, and then I learn from stuff that I see in my own work. I want the viewers to learn from, you know, did you know facts on this day. They're interesting because a lot of these situations, you've heard of them, but you probably didn't know a little of the backstory, or you didn't really know what day it happened on or what year did it happen in. So, you know, I want the viewers to, you know, my viewers, my faithful viewers, I want you guys to learn something, and maybe I can learn something from you. If I get a topic where I'm giving advice, maybe I can learn something when I do my research on that topic and come up with my own opinion about how I would deal with it, or best practices, stuff like that. I want my show to be about advice. I want to be able to take these topics, take these questions, and give my opinion on how I would do it, or based off the experiences I've had on how it played out, either it being good or bad. That way I'm giving you, the viewers, another way of looking at things. I feel like everyone needs 1, 2, 3 different ways of looking at things, and then allow yourself to make that judgment on what is yes and what's no. So I want you to like, subscribe, share, you know, turn that notification bell on, you know, follow me at Bobby Bands Pod, follow the 4 Leroy Boys IG page. You know, we feel like we have something here. We just need the support of everyone. You can email me at bbp@bobbybands.com. You can send your questions there. You can send, you know, what you need advice on. You can send it all there. So I want to thank you guys again, you know, the viewers. I want to thank you all for viewing after the 3rd episode, after the 1st episode, after the 2nd episode. I want to thank you guys so much. And just remember, sometimes the best way to lead is to learn how to follow. We all can't be fucking chefs in the kitchen. You have a good day. I will see you Friday. Peace.
Damn it, Bobby.
You see the clock,
Wake up in the morning,